All right, everyone, this is video number 2 of the Twitter Q&A for early February here. We're going to jump right into it. First question in this one is from Blonity at Think Like a Whale. Blonity, of course, is the great analyst who has been looking at all of the different cryptocurrency publicly traded companies that are listed and comparing them, contrasting them, and coming up with his own metrics. If you haven't watched any of his videos, I suggest that you do. They're pretty cool. His question is, what's the cash hodl ratio right now for the freshly minted Bitcoin? Do you sell any right now? So Blonity, you will know that from our January update, we went from $200 Bitcoin to slightly over 500 Bitcoin. And that's obviously because we did purchase some Bitcoin in late January, but also because we held a lot of Bitcoin through the month. And looking at our cash flow projections moving forward, we don't make those public, but what I can say is we are very bullish on Bitcoin, and we are planning to hold. I think February is going to look a lot like January in terms of our interest in holding Bitcoin versus holding cash. We're in a good position for both of them right now, but that's kind of how we're thinking about the ratio right now. Weighted more on the Bitcoin side than on the cash side. Mateus from Funky Finance, who also is a great YouTuber out there doing videos about not just crypto stocks, but all kinds of opportunities, small cap opportunities across various exchanges. So Mateus asks a number of questions. So I think he deleted one of them, but I'll blast through them. Some of them I've already answered, so I'll keep those ones short. After your recent purchase of 172.5 Bitcoin in the second half of January, can you confirm your asset management strategy includes terms to BTFD? BTFD, for those of you who don't know, is buy the effing dip. So I think I've said this publicly before. We're opportunistic about how we look at look at buying Bitcoin. It's not something we've done a ton of in the past. I think I can only recall one other time in the history of the company other than in January when we did it. We look at what we have in cash reserves. We look at where we see things moving forward. And if we think there's an opportunity to double down on Bitcoin and we have the cash, we'll do it. So that's kind of how the thinking around the asset management strategy and BTFD is we're thinking, and we were happy with our purchase. Obviously, since then we've gone from in the 30s to now in the 40s. So it was a good purchase for us. We got the timing right. Number 2 was deleted. Number 3, can you give us some insight into exactly what tangible benefits the acquisition of data centers in Quebec brings? Cost-based, capacity, efficiency, tech tinkering, etc. Yeah, I think it's all of those, and obviously. We've just announced this LOI as well for the facility which we're going to build in West Texas. When we started as a miner, we were buying machines and having them installed with hosts, and that was because we wanted to focus on learning the expertise of mining, of making sure that our machines were as optimized as possible, buying the machines at the right time, all of the aspects that go onto the mining side. We've got those figured out now, and we've been working with our partners at some of these facilities in Canada and the United States, and the opportunity came to purchase 2 of the ones in Canada and to bring them in-house. And all of the things that you mentioned, Mateus, it lowers our cost base. Capacity, it doesn't really increase our capacity, but it does give us the opportunity to not have to worry about long-term contracts because we can move the machines in and out, depending on their profitability. Although all the machines are running there are now obviously very profitable. Efficiency, yeah, for sure. I mean, the closer you are to the machines, in many ways, the better, because it allows Perry and our tech team to tinker with them. And then tech tinkering, R&D, for sure. That's part of it. It's nice to have your own facility where you can try things on a larger scale, as opposed to kind of what you might be doing at your office or whatever facility you're going to be trying things at. Are you able to share any information on the institutions involved in the recent private placing? Unfortunately, that was part of the deal with the broker agent, that we weren't going to make those institutions public. So I can't add anything there. Also, what are Waxman and XMS doing right now in the U.S.? Is the pandemic slowing things? I think you're kind of, it's a little bit of a passive, maybe not passive aggressive. It's a little bit of like a friendly way to ask, what are Waxman and XMS doing, guys? So I answered this, I think, recently on another call or a conversation I was having with someone. The Waxman are learning about us. They're working their network. They're moving along and getting us known. For sure, we want to be able to engage with people in the United States on a kind of a high level media, engagement, but also at the ground level. So we're also building, some of the things we've done in the UK and trying to build a group of shareholders that believe in Argo, that are long-term shareholders, that like sharing the story, that want to engage with us. We're interested in building that in the United States as well. So Waxman is helping with that. And then XMS has been a great partnership for us. They were, I think you probably saw Mateus in the press release. They were very involved in the Texas deal, in putting that deal together and bringing some of the pieces to us. And just a high level of strategy in the space, particularly on the infrastructure side. So we're really pleased with that relationship and the way it's going. And we're going to continue working with them because, as you guys know, we have more to do the rest of this year. Where it's not like we're stopping and focusing only on building and mining. We've always got lots of opportunities we're exploring, and XMS are going to help us explore those and execute on those as well. Laws at Laws Junk List. If you want to buy Bitcoin direct, if I want to buy Bitcoin direct from your miners, how do I do this? Unfortunately, Laws, we don't sell Bitcoin direct to anyone. That was a business model that we did when we first launched. We were mining as a service company, but now we mine exclusively for ourselves. We do some mining management for some other folks that we set up. I think a lot of our shareholders know that we set that contract up in November, and those machines are starting to be installed now. But we don't do mining packages for other folks at any scale, small or large. Stewie Max at Stewie Max 71. Argo is my first foray into the crypto world, and as a long-term investor, I am really enjoying the transparency and shareholder engagement. We're glad. Thank you, Stewie. My question regards your view on M&A amongst the crypto miners. How likely do you think that is? And do you see Argo as potential hunter or prey? I mean, Stu, I think given that the space is so dynamic right now, and there's been a real boom period for the last couple months. I don't see M&As as like a huge. I don't see a lot of conversations about M&As in the space. That being said, like any industry that is rapidly industrializing or rapidly professionalizing, I think that there's going to be opportunities for companies that are growing quickly, to grow faster together, and to kind of put their resources together. And that's not because I have any particular insight into what's happening amongst other publicly traded. I don't want you to overread into that, but I think it's kind of a natural evolution of where the industry has come from, which is really kind of almost like a garage type industry where people are mining at home in their basements, and then it became more professionalized, and then to 2 megawatt, 5 megawatt facilities, and now we're seeing 100, 200 megawatt facilities and onwards. So I think that there will be more consolidation as we move forward, and it's going to be interesting to see how that all comes together. How likely for Argo are we a potential hunter or prey? I mean, I think of Argo as right now as like a Navy cutter, right? You think about, we have some huge cruise ships out there that are, these massive companies that have all kinds of resources, particularly with cash, but maybe they're not that agile. I think the advantage to us in the particular kind of ecosystem that we're in is we move quick. We have a mantra of smart growth. We've been through some lean times, so we know how to survive during lean times, which is a great set of skills to have, because crypto is, there's booms and there's times where it can get leaner. So you need to know how to navigate through both of those types of conditions. And so, what are we going to do with our Navy, with our ship? We're going to add other ships to it, and we want to continue to be agile, but we also want to be able to grow bigger and more powerful, and we're very ambitious that way. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that answered your question. Okay, so the next series of questions is, we've combined a couple of them together because they're all kind of asking the same thing. So Sergi Suarez asks, thanks for doing these videos. Yeah, you're welcome, Sergi. He basically says in the January operation update, he was expecting 110. It was less than that. The Wolf of Brickell Avenue at Wolf of Brickell asks, in January, you guys mined 93 Bitcoin, you mined 96 in December, you mined 115 in November, you mined 126 in October. Can you explain the declining trend? And then Lol MC Shiz, who has asked lots of questions. In fact, I think I answered one of his in the last video as well. Asked another question, which is basically saying, I've done the math and you guys are not producing as much Bitcoin as I expected. Can you give me some insights as to why that's the case? So the factors that you need to take into consideration when you're doing this kind of math is a couple different things. One is that the petahash number that we put out, which is 787, I think right now, although we have machines being installed on a weekly, daily basis right now, so that number is going up. That's our total capacity. That's like how fast we can go if everything was turned on 100% working. We do adjust our petahash, our overall kind of hash power based on efficiency. So sometimes we dial the machines down a little bit in order to get to make the machines a little bit more efficient. In other words, like we improve the fuel efficiency. If we to use another car analogy, we improve the fuel efficiency of the machines in order to make them more efficient. There's also network difficulty, which continues to rise, and I think that's probably the biggest factor that most people who are not super familiar with mining understand. And we've talked about it before. There's some stuff in our blog on it. But essentially, mining gets more difficult as more hash power comes onto the network. And you can track this yourself every 2 weeks, or roughly every 2 weeks. It adjusts based on how much overall hash power there is on the network. We also have downtime in different facilities. And that's kind of repair. That is, sometimes we have curtailments, very rarely, but in the northern climates, in Quebec where we mine, in Baie-Comeau, there's sometimes the machines need to be turned off for a few hours if there's too much if there's too much of a demand from the local community, because it can get into the -20s, -30s there. So it happens rarely, but it does happen. And then the repair side of things. I think we've been very open that the T17 machines that we bought, that were installed at the start of last year, have had issues. Those have been well documented. You can Google about them, there's been lots of reports about what's happened with those, so those machines have been in and out of repairs, and that also is a factor. And then also repairs are a little bit more difficult to complete right now, given that there is a shortage of gear in general with the boom that's going on. It's harder to get to exactly the exact kind of repair things that we need. That's being completely transparent. We are the only publicly traded mining company that puts out monthly data that allows people to do the math and compare and contrast. And we are also pretty open that the capacity that we talk about is our capacity, and when things go wrong, like we've had issues with the T17s, we've been public about that. The good news is that most of our machines are still in the upper tier of efficiency, even when we compare them against some of these other companies that have been mining on 2017, 2018 machines. So this is all one of the challenges of working with technology, is that you have sometimes everything's working 100% perfectly, and sometimes you need to figure things out. So there's a lot of different factors in the end that kind of determine how much Bitcoin we're putting out on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. On a really positive note, the machines that are being installed right now, which is the S17 and S19 Pros, the S19 and S19 Pros, have an extremely low failure rate. And that's kind of industry-wide, and that's what we've been experiencing. Very good performance levels. as expected. And so we've been really happy with the performance of those machines so far. And that's, going to really help continue to pump our hash rate in the coming months. Leos, at Shank Leo. Question, how are we planning to compete against the competition given by the end of 2021? ARB will be way behind the top two miners according to Elmwood Research. Is the plan to buy more BTC to compensate for the lack of mining equipment? So here's what I'd say. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint, although it's felt like a sprint lately. We're building infrastructure for the long term. That's what the Texas deal is about. That's why we want to get as close to the source of power and at as low a cost as we can. We're very confident that the machines that we've ordered so far in Q1 and Q2 are going to be delivered and installed on time and are going to be the hash rate that we said. In terms of other people's abilities to execute, we'll see how things develop. But there's one thing to have future petahash on paper, and there's another thing to have petahash on the ground actually running and working. So it's going to be an interesting year. We've got plans for Q3, Q4, which we're developing. We've already, made a big announcement this week about West Texas. So we're in this for the long run. And, to go back directly to your question, if there's an opportunity to buy more BTC, we'll look at it. We're opportunistic that way. But we're working we're thinking long term as much as we can. In the short term, things are great. Our margins are incredible. It's a very good time to be a cryptocurrency miner. And in the long term, I think we've shown as a company that our mantra of smart growth will provide some great opportunities for us and for investors and to return value to shareholders. Okay, last question in this particular video, Arthur M. Lake at Diagnostic Art. When are your year-end results announced, and we'll be having some fanfare to go with them? So our year-end results are come out in May, around sometime in May. That's historically when we put them out. And fanfare, well, we'll probably just do an RNS. I'll probably do a video like this. We generally don't have a ton of fanfare, but maybe this year with all the excitement in the space, we should do something. If you've got an idea, put it in the replies or the comments to this video or on Twitter, and we'll take a look. Okay, thanks everyone. That's video number 2.